How does this sound out there? Can you guys hear us okay? Yeah.
Yep. Check, check.
Sure. Mark, we're just about to get the meeting going here, so hang tight 1 second.
Is Janelle going to be here today?
She said that she had someone leave, so she was going to
Oh.
try and make it, but would you
Probably not. Yeah. Do the doctor thing first. Right?
Babies don't
Babies are
wait.
always coming very important.
Yes. I've delivered one baby. Just as a cop, I delivered one baby. So it seemed pretty easy.
Maybe on your end.
Okay.
It was pretty easy on my end.
Oh, boy.
I was catching. That's all I was doing. Just remember. It's like, go ahead and push. That's all I remember, from shows and medical training. Okay. Exactly. Okay, I'm going to bring our meeting to order, I guess. Is that what I say to start? Okay. I'm going to bring our meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to ask that we go into executive session. So I'm going to ask everyone to step out.
And you
So-
want to read the agenda language for the
Oh,
record?
okay, so we're convening the meeting. Executive session, the board will convene in executive session pursuant to ORS 1926602F to consider information or records that are exempt by law from public inspection. The executive session is not open to the public. However, representative of the news media and designated individuals will be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience will be asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the executive session as previously announced. No decision will be made in the executive session. Thank you.
For those of you on Zoom, we're going to go ahead and mute and we'll come back as soon as we're out of executive session. Okay, what
Okay.
time did we go out of executive?
6:45,
6:46.
6:46.
6:46. Okay, guys, I would like to convene our meeting at 6:47 p.m. We are going into our work session. Okay. Okay. So number two, review draft sports assist asset loan agreement.
Board members, so I worked with. Okay, so board members, I worked with legal counsel to develop an agreement for sports asset loans. That document was in your board packet, and you can see that we've got a number of options for folks on what assets we have available to loan to an organization. There's a number of agreements, that the equipment remains our property of the district, that they've inspected the equipment, and we'll come up with a way of documenting that it was inspected and sign-offs and all the things so that both parties are agreeable to the condition of the equipment. Paying for the repair or replacement of any equipment lost or damaged beyond reasonable wear and tear, complying with all use and safety guidelines, acknowledging that we are not liable if something happens with the equipment, and then that we need a copy of the organization's liability insurance before the equipment will be provided. That's just to document that it is an organization that has insurance before they take the equipment. And then we've got some for staff use only, when the agreement comes in, when we got the insurance declarations, and then other documentation. Also in your packet is a list of our current inventory. This is out of our new Hydro app system. So you can see the actual inventory for each of the different types of equipment that we have. Let's see. And so
on the adult mouth guard,
Yes,
right there. It says we have, what, 41? I hope those aren't used, right?
no, they're
Those
all
are new.
unused.
I hope so.
They're
Okay.
all in their packages.
Okay.
Yes,
All right.
no, that would be.
Yeah,
discussed.
that would be good.
Um,
Okay.
Well, those aren't something we can't necessarily loan out because they're a one and done.
No,
Yeah.
and frankly, if a group wanted them, I think we would just say, go ahead and have them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm less concerned about the consumable assets than I am the
Right.
ones that we would want to make sure, like balls and nets and that kind of
Right.
stuff.
Ball pump, basketballs, cones.
And so that's, I'm bringing it to the board, not for you to approve it because you don't have to approve it. I just wanted you to see it and ask any questions or offer any comments on it. We've already been in touch with Jefferson County JC Roots to use the equipment. So we'll be communicating with them as soon as
Perfect.
tomorrow.
I would encourage staff to make sure they look over the equipment well with whoever's renting it so that both parties agree that it's in good working condition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Number 3, we are going to discuss public records request policy and provide direction to staff on administrative approach to requests.
Yes, so in your packet is a copy of our current public records request policy. This policy was adopted on June 5th, 2023. I've highlighted in here the pieces that I follow as a staff member. This is how I refer back to our policy. So this is my working document. When we receive a public records request, the district will, within 5 business days after receiving it, acknowledge that we received it or complete it. So when we get a records request, if it's something that lives on my computer and it's easy for me to just attach it to an email, I just take care of it in the moment. Generally, response times are within 24 hours because I'm afraid I'll forget to do it if I don't do it in that moment because I'm managing so many things. There have been a couple that have come in lately that I have responded and acknowledged receipt and said that I will have to get back to them at a future date because I am way behind on a number of projects and am trying to balance all those things. The second thing that's highlighted is district will provide the requester an estimate of the fees applicable to make the public records available for inspection. To date, I have not been charging fees. I was frankly afraid of being accused of retaliation if I asked for fees, so I have not been doing that. The requests that we've had to date have not taken more than, most of them have not taken more than 15 minutes to a half an hour. I've got one in particular that we've received in the last couple of weeks that's going to take quite a bit of time to gather all the records together. And so even before that one came in, I was talking with our attorney and with SDAO about when you're a small district balancing priorities, how do you get this done while also maintaining all your other workload? And their answer was, well, your workload comes first. And I said, oh, that's not going to go over well. So they suggested that I come to the board and have a conversation about this. If you look to 3.4, district will complete its response to a properly completed written records request as soon as practicable and without unreasonable delay. To this end, as soon as reasonably possible, but no later than 10 business days after the date by which the district is required to acknowledge receipt, the district will either A, complete its response to the request, or B, provide a written statement that district is still processing the request and a reasonable estimated date by which we expect to complete it. In addition, if you keep going down, routine public records requests will be handled by the district executive director or their designee. I do not have a designee to hand this off to. We do not have staff that are involved with our records at all outside of myself at this time. So more complex records requests may go to our attorney, particularly if it has anything to do with our staff or personnel records or any of that kind of stuff, because that's kind of a gray area as to how we can fulfill those. Section 4 talks about the fees schedule. Our policy says that all estimated fees have to be paid before records will be given out. It also says that the district may furnish copies without charge if we determine that the waiver or reduction of fees is in the public interest. So our policy does provide some flexibility, and that is the 4.4 is how I've justified not charging for public records to date. And then Schedule 4.1 is our fees schedule. And I've highlighted the section about labor costs. Our fees schedule, our fees policy was developed a few years ago. I don't necessarily know if they looked at any other regional districts. I don't know if they just looked at a model policy from the Special Districts Association of Oregon. If the board wants, that's something we can dig into a little bit about what our fees look like. We do have in your packet a draft policy revision that includes some revisions to recognize, for example, that we don't have a fax. We can't fax anything. So we take that out of there, as well as some other updates that were recommended by our attorney's office. But in terms of changing the fee schedule, this is our current fee schedule. And then lastly, if a request is of such magnitude and nature that compliance will disrupt the district's normal operation, district may impose such additional charges as are reasonably necessary to reimburse the district. And so that's something that our attorneys talked with me about and wanted the board to be aware that that's an option that we have. The next piece in your packet is a tracking list of our current public records requests since I've been with the district. So we had one in 23-24. We had one at the end of 24-25. And we've had 8 so far since July 1 of this year. You can see that we track when they come in, what the topic is, the date that I respond to them, and then any follow-up emails that come from that particular request. And then you can see down here, I've got 2 highlighted. That's so that I remember to go back and follow up with those 2. Because I said I would get back to them by August 27th and August 29th. So I want the board to understand that we have an obligation as a public organization to respond to public records requests. And I am not saying that we should not respond to public records requests. It's one of, I think, the most important things for transparency. And so as one employee who is managing about 7 different hats, I am drowning right now. I am 2 weeks behind on our audit. I haven't entered our payroll into QuickBooks yet. That happened back on the 20th. I am very much behind on my responsibilities. You'll recall that I'm the only supervisor left in the building. So I'm doing chem checks in the afternoons when we have the youth swim team there. I'm also managing the staff, posting schedules and doing those sorts of things. I'm extremely overwhelmed and I want to act in good faith and do the things that we need to do as a public organization. And so I need some direction from the board in terms of priority. We have the ability to respond and say, I'll get back to you by X date and time, which I've started doing. Like I mentioned, if it's a simple, yeah, here's the information, I'm happy to attach that and send it. At the last meeting, we had a request to put our back packets and agendas back on the website. It's on my to-do list. I have not had time to do it. So the priority things are mounting up, piling up, and everything can't be a priority. So I would appreciate just maybe some conversation of the board around how you'd like me to prioritize not only balancing public records requests in general, but also, I mean, do you want me to begin charging for them? When we look at the hourly rate of the staff that's completing it, that's my hourly rate. Do we want to look at some other method? So I'm just looking for some direction from the board.
Do the city and the county, they charge for records, right? I mean, any other entity charges for records.
Yeah,
and we've been public organization. Right. Library. Okay.
And I can say, working for Jefferson County, our policy was very similar to this one that we adopted in June of 2023. If it was readily available at our fingertips and it was just a click and a send, no charge. But when it started taking staff research time, we absolutely had to try to give an estimate of the hours it was going to take us to do that research. We got the payment up front before we did the job. So we already have the policy. We're not making any changes to the policy.
So we just follow the policy. I think we.
Yeah, and I think
adhere
we need
to
to
the policy. Yeah.
we need to prioritize work schedules with audit coming up. I believe audit and payroll should be priority.
Not that we don't want to process record requests. It's nothing like that, but our priorities are the pool. So.
So what I heard you say is implement the policy
Yes,
and prioritize audit and payroll.
Mhm.
yes.
Okay.
Do we have to vote on that? No,
No. I
No?
think it's a
Okay.
consensus.
okay.
Which records are able to be requested,
Anything.
including the names and of staff, families, and anyone in the building at any time.
So people can request anything, whether we have a legal obligation to fill it. When it comes to staff names and names of patrons in the building, our attorneys have advised that we are not obligated to provide that detailed information.
That seems concerning for safety, especially.
Yeah, but anybody can request anything.
Yeah.
It's just how we fill it.
I just want to make sure this covers that.
So the public records request policy, everybody has it in their packet and it's for us to review at this time. And we'll address those changes at the next, possibly the next meeting.
Or are we going down to the,
No,
To the
I'm
next.
looking forward since we're talking about the public records request.
yeah, so you have a package of policies that are on your work session agenda as a first reading. These are policies that our attorney's been working on since April to update because of changes in the legislative session. So it just
Okay,
so happens that this policy is on that list. You can see the track changes of the things that they're proposing we change.
right.
But there's a package of policies, the public records request policy, our volunteer policy and waiver, public contracting rules and procedures, and a new class special procurements and exemptions policy. So those are all in your packet as a first reading, which means that you're getting it so you can review it and ask questions and we can look at it. And then it'll come back to you at the next meeting for its second reading during the work session, and then the board can consider adopting them during the regular meeting. So those are all just in your packet. We
Right.
are not meant to discuss them tonight, the first reviews.
And it's really only word changes from what I see so far.
Yeah, I think it's just language, so it aligns with the
Language
state.
changes. Okay,
Step out for work and then
No,
do we note that
7:03 PM.
Janelle is
Dr.
stepped?
Lewis has stepped out of the room. She's got a baby on the way.
Thank you. A patient has a baby on the
A
way.
patient.
It's not her baby. Could be her.
If we're on item 4, receive draft policies, the financial management policy is on here for your second review. This policy was presented to the board at the last work session. I didn't know if anybody had any questions or comments on it, but it is on your business meeting agenda for adoption. And that's it for the draft policies.
Oh.
Oh, the found papers tonight is
Yeah,
overwhelming.
I know.
Yeah, 260 page board packet.
Wow. Okay. Standing and timely updates are on number 5.
Let me look and see.
Our sustainability plans.
I'm gonna get us down.
Where is that in our packet?
It's near the back. You got all your policies there. That's what I'm scrolling through right now. Sorry to everyone in the audience watching us scroll. So I didn't have any updates on sustainability plans. I didn't know if any board members had reports back based on the conversation at the last board meeting. If not, I can move on to update on grants and fundraising. I'll be honest with you, I haven't had a lot of time the last couple of weeks to look for grants. As you can see in your board packet, we have one grant that's still under review through the National Recreation and Parks Association. We were awarded that MACRD grant that the board accepted at the last meeting, and we've got an application in progress for the Bob Woodruff Foundation in partnership with the Veterans Office with Jefferson County to try and get some access to the MAC for veterans and their families.
So I noticed that one, Courtney. Did that come through Laura at the Veterans, or how did that one come about?
No, we have a membership to a thing called Instrumental,
Mhm.
and it's one that I have a veterans recreation or something, some words
Mhm.
highlighted. So Laura and I talked about trying to look out for stuff for each other.
And then I have a question.
Mhm.
Have we, I'm sure you have, but what about the Oregon Health Authority? Do they give out any grants or anything? I know they give money.
We
So-
are on a listserv where we get email announcements when any state departments have grants that are available. So we get announcements from the Department of Education, OHA, the Resilience and Emergency Management, and there's workforce.
And do we qualify for all those grants or
Some of
we have,
them.
some of them we don't,
Yeah.
some we do?
Yep, but I signed us up to get all those alerts just in case.
Okay.
And then we've got a number that are on my list to explore further. In particular, we're looking at the Learn to Swim grant through the USA Swimming Foundation requires that your swim lessons are approved through their process. So Peyton and I and Malia are looking at how we can get our swim lessons approved through that. We are in the process of redesigning and rebranding swim lessons to try and make them easier for folks to understand and where their kiddos would fall or where they might fall. And that we'll be rolling that out as we go into the September opening at the end of September. But we're looking at that USF as part of the guidance for that so we can become eligible for grants through them. And then we did explore the idea of a CDBG grant to try and help with our facility, our walls, our bathroom rehabilitation accessibility project. But unfortunately, recreation facilities are not listed as one of the eligible ones, but I did forward it on to our friends at the library as a potential opportunity for them.
What about, I didn't see St. Charles on there. I know they give grants.
We have a partnership with them. They fund our prescription program through
Oh,
and
okay.
so we through that sort of agreed that we wouldn't apply for grants unless it's for a special project because they already give us about $10,000 a year for that other program. Any other questions on grants before I move us on to capital improvements and other facility maintenance projects? Frank and I were able to meet with Severson Plumbing. Is that last week? It's all blending together. I think it was last week. Is that this? Oh yeah, last week. And so we're moving forward with that project. We're also in the process of getting quotes for flushing the heat exchangers and some other things that will help us hopefully have more efficient water heating. that is all I had on capital improvements. But I can keep kind of going down this list. Update on summer project progress is in your packet. You can see that elevating all aquatics programs with the board approving the schedule for September 28th through February 21st. Our staff has been working on updating the website, updating our system with all of the different activities, and then also working on a media plan for hopefully starting next week, maybe the end of this week. It takes some time for us to build all those activities in our ActiveNet system and make sure that everything is correct, as well as taking the time to plan out the staffing for it, which I'm going to show you guys in a moment. So that's something that's in progress. Documentation and training on safety operations, assets, maintenance. That's something that we're working through and with the goal of doing some training with our staff by the end of September. The reset setup district for long-term success public records. The progress is slow. There's a lot of priorities that are competing right now. And as I've mentioned, this is one that I have to be involved with. And so I'm sort of the holdup on that particular project. We completed the deep cleaning and reorienting public facing spaces. And you guys have seen that. We have one more week of the youth Madras swim team practice. So their last practice is Thursday, and then we'll be closed for our regular maintenance. And we have a number of companies scheduled to come in and do their regular annual or quarterly maintenance. HydroWraps implementation is in process. Taking the inventory of all those sports assets was one of the first things that we did. And the staff is getting used to, we have tablets that we're entering that information in, and we're going to be retraining all the staff on taking chem checks, incident reports. Anything that we used to do on paper is now going to happen in this system. And it should help us be better at making decisions that are data driven and understanding how bather load in the pool impacts utilities and chemicals and all those things. We can guess at that right now, make good guesses based on our training and our professional experience, but it'll be nice to have data behind it as well. And then lastly, the transition of management and supervisory duties from the rec director to me. We've started some of that, as I mentioned earlier, but you see the list that we're planning to tackle over the month of September. And then we added the regular annual maintenance that's happening. We did have our company that searches for leaks in the pool come out on the 18th, and they did find a pretty substantial leak in our leisure pool that they were able to patch. We noticed that our water bill was a little bit higher than normal last month, and then this month's was high. And the first month we thought, well, maybe it's because we turned irrigation on, but then with the second month, we thought, well, we better get him out here. So that was about $1,300 for him to come out, but scuba dives, replaces and patches anything that's ripped. And then we're going to start doing it just as a part of our annual maintenance to have him come out and do that unless we see that our water bill is increasing.
Right.
Were those other leaks, weren't they in the deep end?
That was the last time. Yeah.
Is this the first one we've had on the leisure side?
This is the first substantive one we've had on the leisure side. We've had pinpricks on the leisure side, but this was a pretty good size rip right at the tile line.
And how do they think that happened? Just happens.
Could be that, someone threw something and it hit it and it ripped it. It could be a kiddo was over there picking. I mean, you just,
Yeah, we have an aged liner.
Yeah. The good news is he was able to patch those in a couple of, I think he said they were about penny size leaks over in the lap pool too. So whenever he comes over, it's $500 for them to just come over. So we have them do both pools and make sure everything is in good shape before they leave. So the other thing that is, let's see, we talked about summer projects, domestic water, compliance with OAR 333. So one of the things that we're required to do now is document our staffing plans when the pool is open. This is information that has lived in staff's head And I have to tell you, it's been really useful to go through and document. So the first thing to share is we have a number of roles and responsibilities on deck when people are in the pool. And it's regardless of what activity is happening. If someone's toe is in the water, these positions with roles and responsibilities are all being filled. So we have a manager on duty who backs everybody up and is basically what I call the adult in the building. We have a patron services specialist who works at the front desk and takes walk-ins, phone calls, emails, and they're an important part of our EAP, our emergency action plan. When our EAP is activated, and that's 3 whistles from anywhere in the building, that's how we activate our EAP. So that's when someone has to jump in and rescue someone. That's if we find someone in the locker room that maybe fell or is having some sort of health event. We activate the EAP with 3 whistles. And then everybody has a job to do as part of that activation. So all these positions do. Our deck supervisor is the one who is kind of keeping an eye on the natatorium. They manage our team breaks and lunches. They help with life jackets and patron safety. If someone has a bloody nose, they're typically the one that's going to respond to it. We get a lot of those in the pool. They do the mid to open chem check. So the new rules require that halfway through being open to the public, someone has to do some additional testing beyond our normal every 2-hour chem check, and that's done in the back. So they're responsible for that.
So if we're open 6 hours,
In that
check.
3rd hour, 3.5 hour,
they will-
someone's going to go back and do that big chem check, what we call the big chem check.
Okay.
And then we have lifeguards, and when they're on their station, they're scanning, and that is their only responsibility. They're scanning their area of the pool and making sure that patrons are safe. And then we have one in the off rotation in the lifeguard room as the first aid room lifeguard. And then that lifeguard is the one that gives people their break. That goes into rotate. So historically, and I can share this because we have someone on our staff who's been in the building a long time, they would be wearing all of these hats as the only person in the building. And I don't think that that's right. It violates American Red Cross expectations for certification. It violates state rules. And to me, it's not setting our staff up for success or our patrons up for safety. So our rule in the building is you may wear 2 hats at a time. So a lot of times I will be both MOD and patron services, or I will be MOD and deck supervisor, but I will never be all 3 because it's impossible to be all 3. And so sometimes you'll see our deck supervisor will have to step in and be a lifeguard and give someone a break. If that EAP gets activated, one of us is automatically running out to take over scanning their particular area, whoever had to jump in. I'm going to go to the next slide. So when you look at our 6 staff members that we have, generally you can move up or down on that triangle of responsibilities. So we have a number of lifeguards who are also certified pool operators and deck supervisors. We have a few of us who are also trained on patron services. And then as the only supervisor left on our team, I'm the manager on duty. If I am on vacation or I have a sick kiddo or something comes up, then the deck supervisor becomes the manager on duty and I'm on call. So, and that's how that works. Now, there are times when I become a lifeguard. At that point, I am no longer the manager on duty. Whoever the deck supervisor is the manager on duty. So we try and recognize that even though I'm the executive director, if I'm scheduled as a lifeguard, I'm reporting to the deck supervisor because now we're not under MAC Recreation District org chart, we're under American Red Cross org chart. We have called back 4 high school students, 4 seasonals who are excited to come back and work evenings, Saturdays and Sundays when we reopen. I do have concerns about our ability to weather sickness and vacations. And so I want to say that on the record and be very clear about it. There will be times that we may have to limit the number of people we can let in because of our staffing levels. And it is what it is. We're hoping that we can send a couple of our swim instructors that we've called back down to Redmond to get lifeguard certified so that we have a couple more lifeguards. That's our current plan. But I do have some concerns. Now, this is a lot of information, but I wanted to show you what it looks like for staffing.
I'm gonna back you up for just a second.
Yeah.
On those 4 high school students,
Mhm.
are they current with their certifications? I'm
Yes.
assuming that we don't have to get them some training.
Well, they're all current with their certifications. We'll do a 6-hour in-service with them before we reopen, just to get them back in the water and practicing their skills and making sure everybody's up to snuff with our expectations. So we'll do kind of a onboarding in-service before we reopen with them.
Is that similar to what staff did on, what was it, the 19th?
Yeah, so we have 4 staff who are due to recertify in November, December. And so our lifeguard instructor, who's certified to teach lifeguards, requires that we practice all the prerequisites a number of times to make sure that by the time we get to the recertification, we're able to do them. American Red Cross also requires that we do 4 hours of in-service every month. And since we've been closed, we've been trying to do 4 hours on one day or 2 days of 2 hours each. That includes doing water skills as well as practicing CPR, first aid, AED, and then also activating our EAP and practicing it. So we do a number of different skills during those times, all required by American Red Cross as part of our certification. In your packet, you have all of the staffing plans, but I wanted to kind of zoom in on our staffing plan for open swims. A lot of times folks have said, well, why do you need so many staff? And this is a schematic that shows it. This is something that our lifeguard instructor, our lead American Red Cross certifier, developed. As you can imagine, when you're in an organization much bigger than ours, and you have lifeguard instructors who are trying to do best practice from American Red Cross, and then you have managers and supervisors like me who say, well, we don't have the budget for that. How can we reduce our staffing needs? It's a push and pull that happens in all aquatics facilities. For us, because of the schematic of our pools, we're required to have lifeguards placed in certain locations. So you can see up here in this green box is lifeguard 1. That's that high chair that's over in the deep end. And they're scanning the whole pool if there's less than 40 people in it. But if there's more than 40 people in it, then it breaks down and they're scanning through lane 4. And then this lifeguard 6 is also scanning with them through lane 4 and the spa. So you can imagine in the mornings when it's not an open swim and we have independent workout, lap swim, generally we have 1 lifeguard assigned to that pool. And then we might have someone that's ready to jump in and scan if we get more than 40 in that particular body of water. Coming over to the leisure pool, we have our short stand over here in the corner, and historically have used that stand to also monitor the slide pool. We are not allowed to do that. We have got to have a lifeguard stationed with their feet in the water of the slide pool, and we have to have a lifeguard stationed at the top. And of course, I pushed back and said, could we have a first aid, CPR, AED certified swim instructor up at the top of the slide? Because then that would give us 1 more person. And the answer is no. If there's something that happens in the slide and it's faster for that top lifeguard to get to them, they've got to be lifeguard certified. So we will have lifeguard 3 and 4 on the slide. If we are short-staffed, the first thing we do is close the slide because that gives us 2 lifeguards that we can put on deck.
Makes sense.
And I foresee complaints about that. And it is what it is. Then we put another lifeguard over here on the corner. This is a roving station. They kind of walk back and forth along the lazy river. And then we have our 7th lifeguard over here in the first aid lifeguard room. And they're the ones that come out and switch this person who walks over here. And then they rotate through this because you're supposed to change your scanning area every 15 minutes so you stay alert. American Red Cross says you can do 30-minute rotations if you want, which we tend to do not during open swims, but during lap swim, independent workout, family swim times, because it's a little less intense during those activities. In theory, then you also have an MOD who's working in their office. And then you have a patron services person at the front desk. Every single one of these positions is critical to the EAP response, the emergency activation plan. Is this helpful?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
When we have the rope swing and the diving board both open for rec swims, it doesn't require any more lifeguards. Those two stations can cover people lap swimming. Yes, yes.
That's correct. We've talked about, I guess in the past, they used to close one attraction while the other one was open.
Between the diving board and the rope swing.
Yeah, so they'd have one open for 15 minutes and then close it, and then the other one open for 15 minutes so that people could have a deep pool place to swim and have fun. Because when the attractions are open, only one person is jumping in and getting out on either side of the pool.
Mm.
So we've talked about that. It's just going to depend on our staffing.
So if somebody's diving off the diving board, there can't be anybody in the far end of the pool
So this,
past the dotted line.
yep. So we have what we call the T that gets put in for open swims,
Yeah,
and it
they
separates.
can be on the other side of that.
Yep, they can be on this side. It only goes to 6.5 or 7 feet on this side. And so sometimes we get requests, well, we want to practice diving into the water, and you can't do that on this end. So we might close one side so that, people can cannonball and dive and do all those things off the side of the pool. So the total staff for an open swim is 10 if we have one person in each position. And I'll scroll back up here and say we have 10. 6 plus 4. And that assumes everyone's available.
And then, like you said, if somebody calls in sick or can't make it, then we have to limit the patrons in the pool.
Yep.
So instead of 10, we'll have 9.
Well, so we go 1 to 40. So our plan for open swims is all 160 spots are available, 80 of them in a general pre-registration recommended, not required, 20 for a party rental and 20 for a party rental, because we'll have 2 party rentals available. Depending on what happens with staffing, we could be saying, sorry, we can't take any more people. We're going to go ahead and give you a refund if you pre-registered. Or if we don't get any registrations for those party rentals, then we just wouldn't fill those spots with walk-ins. Because the idea is if we don't have any party rentals, then we can let those be walk-in spots.
So how, I'm just trying to think forward. Say by Thursday, say we're having an open swim Friday night, and by Thursday, there's not a party rental, but somebody comes in Friday morning and says, I want to rent the party. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll leave those party rentals open until probably an hour before the open swim.
but what if we've already had people register online and we're at a certain number and that party group's gonna put us over?
The nice thing about planning to 160 is that it's already accounting for 1 lifeguard being out of the rotation. So we're actually giving ourselves a 40 cushion because I can become the front desk person and the front desk person can become a lifeguard. So we have some backup built into it that we can take on 2 hats instead of just 1 because we're all lifeguard certified.
You think there's any other kids out there that are willing to train up to be a rotating in lifeguard?
It's possible. We always do a class before spring break. Historically, we've done a class right before spring break. So depending on, because the other thing is you don't want to get too many because then everybody's fighting for hours. So it's a balance. Like I said, we have the 2 that we've identified who are old enough and already employees. And we're working on a partnership with Redmond that they could go down to the Redmond pool and get certified, because to run an American Red Cross lifeguard certification class at our pool with our lifeguard instructor, we need at least 5 students in the class. And that's part of why when we recertify, some of us are due in November, one in December. I think we've got 2 that are in January. We're all going to recertify together so that we have a class big enough to do it.
Exciting.
Jenga. Jenga.
I would encourage everyone on the board and in the public to come to September. I think September 28th is our first open swim. I'm looking at the calendar. Sunday, September 28th. And I would love for board members to come. We've talked about doing a shadowing thing where you can shadow a lifeguard and sort of see what they see and understand what's happening with them. Would love for the board to get that experience, because I will tell you, my perception of the situation is vastly different after getting lifeguard certified than it was before.
I got a question, Courtney.
Yeah.
So with the total staff of 10, is that always you in the mix?
Mhm.
Okay, so what about your other required operational duties? How are we gonna get those done?
It's a great question. With us being open 25 hours a week, I am stressing out about how I'm gonna get all my other duties done.
Okay.
We're gonna have to just figure it out as we go. I'm looking at what duties I can delegate. I don't know. I expect that I'll be working that 50 to 60 hours a week. For example, we know we don't have staff on Sundays to cover the front desk, so I'll be the front desk person on Sundays and the MOD automatically.
What does our volunteer policy say about board members manning the front desk?
I believe that would be a violation of our internal controls.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Equal Pay Act,
Yeah.
but thanks for the thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's everything I had, unless there are other questions on any of that.
So we convene our work session then? Is that
Uh,
how we do that, or we just
You could
move
just
on?
move right into the
Okay.
business meeting.
Okay. Do we have to give a time for that?
Yep.
Okay, we're moving right into our business meeting at 7:31 PM.
And if you could do the roll call.
Okay, roll call, here we go. Chair, Irvi Dominguez here, Board Vice Chair,
Present.
Board Secretary Treasurer. She's absent, she stepped out. Okay, Board Member Rebecca Blejo,
Present.
Board Member Frank Maynard. And we go into the Pledge of Allegiance. So if everybody could stand up, and we'll look to the flag to our right hand side, my right. Okay. So with that, are we gonna announce that Janelle just came in?
Yep, she's coming in.
At 7:32,
Thank you.
Janelle Lewis just came in.
Roll
So,
call present.
Roll call, Janelle, present. Okay, so. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's go into our land acknowledgements. Guess that's me, right?
Unless you want to delegate somebody to read it.
I like that. I
Yeah, you can
delegate
delegate.
stuff.
Yes.
Okay. So land acknowledgement, every community owes existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will. Some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life. And some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. In Central Oregon, we are standing on ancestral lands of the Wasco, Warm Springs, and Paiute people. We pay respects to their elders, past and present. Now we have number 4, adoption of the agenda.
I'll make the motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You have all ayes, so I don't
All
have to
ayes.
ask about against.
Got it.
Okay. So the agenda has been adopted. Okay, correspondence, number 5, correspondence, patron comments, cards, emails, and other communications regarding MACRD operations.
Okay, board members, I'll go through the documents in your packet briefly. First, there's an email that was sent on July 19th. It went to my junk mail, and I apologize for not getting it into the August 8th. I also emailed Jessica back and apologized that it didn't get into the August 8th packet, but wanted to include that in your correspondence. We received this letter from the Oregon Department of Energy regarding new rules around buildings that are greater than 20,000 square feet. Our building is 27,000 square feet and may be covered by this program. I've not had time to look into this, but this is on my to-do list and I just wanted you to be aware of it. We did receive it back on June 29th, and with all of the correspondence and requests and all the things, it got lost in a file. So it is in your packet today. And it's on my to-do list to look into it.
But I think as I read through it, there's quite a time frame here. It's nothing that has to be dealt with. Yeah.
Correct. I think that's kind of why I set it aside for a minute. SDAO public meetings law training is being developed based on Oregon Government Ethics Commission rules changes. They're going to be offering this training in September in person. They're working on doing an online training as well. All elected members of a governing body must complete this training within their term. So within your 4-year term, you're required to complete this training. And once it's available online, I can just assign it to you and you can complete it whenever you want. But I will be bringing you opportunities to do the in-person session as well when SDAO starts releasing that.
September 22nd.
I don't believe that that's the training they're doing with us during our work session.
That's a different one.
It's a different one.
Yeah.
It'll probably cover some of the same material, but it's not the official one. Also received this notice from SDAO that we have been selected for an on-site appraisal of our structures. It's something that happens every 5 years for them to update the value of our property as we go into renewing our liability insurance for January of 2026. Just wanted you to be aware that this is happening. Received the best practices program from SDAO. This is a program that allows us to get a percentage off of our liability insurance premium if we meet certain requirements. The first requirement is that we have to have affiliate organization membership. I am a member of the Oregon Recreation and Parks Association, so we get 2% off because of having that membership. At least one representative of the district has to complete a training, and Irvy's going tomorrow to our regional training. So good job, Irvy. You got us 2% off on our liability insurance when you attend tomorrow. We have to have a self-evaluation checklist available online. I don't know exactly what that is, but I'll find out and we will do it. And then we have to have a policy that is updated and current with Paid Leave Oregon. I am in the process of reviewing our employee handbook that's been updated by our attorneys with new rules that were adopted in the most recent legislative session. So we will meet this requirement. My plan is to bring you the first reading in September and the second reading in October. So we'll have it in place. And lastly, online training, to get the 2%, it's going through the supervisory training offered through Vector Solutions. All managers and supervisors of the district, well, that's me. So I've done it in years past. I'll do it again if we need to get the 2%. And so that gives us a total of 10% off our liability insurance. Last year, it was $42,000. So 10% is worth doing all the things we can.
We've done it as a board.
I can't believe it's been a year ago, though, that we did the online training that got us. It's been a whole year.
Yep. Time
I
flies.
how time flies.
On your agenda, I have on 5B, the State of Oregon Clean Air Grant Permit Inspection Compliance and Cram Fire Follow-up. So let's see, first we have an email that I received. I believe this is from Susan Kovari of the comments that she had planned to make during that July 21st public comment section of the board meeting. So that is in your packet. Scroll through the letter that we received from the Department of Human Services on July 29th with the subject of clean air grant recipient refusal to open during wildfire smoke event is included in your packet, along with the email chain of my response to that particular letter, which board members were added to, as well as a number of elected officials in Central Oregon and the governor's office. You can see that we received emails back from the director saying that he was going to look into the matter, that they can do better and they will. If I go down further, that he reviewed the situation and the tone of the letter should have been different, and the AQI from the smoke did not meet our organization's threshold for opening. There's also an email included in your that's the whole email chain from the governor's office, recognizing that it sounded like the director of that department was hearing us, that they were surprised at that letter and that they were talking about that communication with their OREM colleagues. The governor's office is also, I have a meeting set up with Scott Aycock, who's the regional solutions person for the governor's office, to talk about the MAC and our financial situation and see if there's anything that they can do to help us or point us in the direction of resources that we might not be aware of. So some good things really came out of this dialogue, this conversation. In your board packet, I've also included our policy on inclement weather and environmental hazards. It was adopted by the board August of 2022, and it outlines our procedures both for AQI inside the building and outside the building, and for heat-related incidents. I believe. If it doesn't, then we have a different policy for heat-related. Oh no, here it is. Does anybody have, oh, and then the other thing on the clean air grant, I want to thank the person that presented during the August 8th visitor section for calling to our attention that we had an inspection that hadn't been completed on that project. I was not aware of that. We were able to quickly get it resolved with the county. I want to really thank the community development director for the county and the building department. We were able to get that resolved and inspected and passed inspection, and all of it is resolved. I am still waiting to hear back from the contractor. I've requested that they reimburse us for the fees that we had to pay to go ahead and get that resolved. I've not heard back from them at this time, but I'm going to continue to work on that because that was the contractor's responsibility. In addition, Frank is helping me develop a closeout checklist for capital projects to make sure that these things are all T's are crossed, I's are dotted. What I will say is when we're short-staffed and one person's responsible for a lot of things, I am going to make mistakes. I'm going to miss things. And I appreciate the opportunity to learn from those mistakes and grow and get better. So thank you to Jeremy, I think was his name, that brought that up during that Zoom meeting. We were able to get it resolved.
With that said, can we get you any help? Can we find volunteers to help you or anything like that? Can we do something like that?
Doesn't sound like volunteers are allowed in an aquatics facility.
Well, I mean, it's,
Well,
With-
I'm
with
I'm
pay-
specifically talking about maybe some people from Waves of Change. Maybe somebody would like to step up and help if we can.
if there are areas where we can, I'm open to it. We just have to be careful that we are complying with pay equity, that we're not having a volunteer do something that a paid employee could be doing, or would normally be doing. Things like Frank helping with the capital stuff has been very helpful. And there may be other areas where it would be helpful to have advice. At the end of the day, though, I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, we're trying to figure it out.
Options, yeah. I mean, anything we can do to help.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next thing in correspondence is Jefferson County updated their investment policy. We invest our tax dollars that come in through the local government investment pool that is held by Jefferson County. And so just wanted you to be aware that they updated their policy, and there is a new document for board members who are signers on our local government investment pool to sign in your signature folder. Let's see. This is a long one. The board received a formal grievance of public meeting law violation on August 15th. That's in your board packet. The board also received another one that we got on August 22nd. That is not in your board packet, but it has been copied and is part of your printed packet that you have in front of you. I will be working with our attorney to respond to those. Just for transparency's sake, the first grievance we received, it cost us $1,000 in attorney's fees. So I anticipate that the next two grievances will also cost similar amount. And you'll see when we get to the financial reports, we were basically almost through our legal budget for the whole year, and we're 2 months in. So I just want to bring that to the board's attention.
So what happens when we run out of that money?
Then we have to cut costs elsewhere, because we have a legal obligation to respond to formal grievances.
What does that entail? Could that be cutting hours to the pool, cutting staff to pay for legal correspondence?
Yes. I mean, it could be a combination of things.
Thank you.
Yep. And I believe that is all of the correspondence.
And just a quick question, have we received anything back from maybe it's too soon, from the Oregon Ethics Board?
I had a conversation with the investigator for my ethics complaint. The report, the investigation, the preliminary investigation, let me get the words right. Preliminary investigation is legally required to be done by September 29th. She indicated that it would go before the commission in executive session either in October or November, and that I would receive notice 7 days prior to that executive session that it was happening. So I don't expect to have any resolution to that before October, November. I will keep the board updated.
So, I want to touch back on our clean air grant and our inclement weather and environmental hazards. So we had set the AQI at 200. Does that correlate with what Jefferson County Public Health uses as well?
So every entity has authority to determine those levels. I worked with Mike Baker, the public health director at the time, to establish our policy, but I'm not sure what their policy is.
Policy is it all right with you if I check with them?
Oh, yeah, please.
And I think our work policy is higher than that.
For the bad air?
Mhm.
What does AQI stand for?
Air quality index.
Yeah.
Air quality what?
Index.
Index, air quality index.
So I may bring our policy in, which is
Well,
much
the
higher.
school district has a certain one, and they follow a certain limit as well for kids being outside for safety and health. and stuff.
Somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm thinking when we adopted that, it was with public health and followed their same AQI over there. Yeah, but I'll double check.
Thank you, Jean. See, that's helpful, not directing me to do it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We have been fortunate this summer with all these fires that we've had around here, that the air didn't get worse.
Knock on
We've
wood.
been very fortunate. Okay.
Good, we moving on?
Mhm.
Any other questions? Good. We'll move on to number 6. Visitors section, public comment. Members of the public are welcome to speak to the board of directors during this time. They should sign in at the beginning of the meeting to be recognized by the board chair. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes.
And Mr. Chair, if I could, because we're in a new room, I've gotten advice from the county that whoever's speaking, speak like directly into the mic so that it gets captured.
These things also.
No, just the,
Is that one?
these I guess are a lot more sensitive.
Yeah, these are a lot more
Okay.
sensitive. Those, if you're trying to listen to a county Zoom meeting, it's really hard to hear people on those unless they talk right up like you're singing to it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so we're ready. Everybody signed in. Let's start with, is this Phil Johnston? Am I saying this wrong? Phil Johnston, come on up. We're starting a timer. Let me get- You got it?
I have it already set up.
Okay, perfect. Okay,
So I spoke at the last board meeting and I had questions. And to my knowledge, I have never received any feedback from my questions. So my question would be, why haven't I received any feedback? I had questions that were valid, yet I haven't heard anything.
No, I didn't address Phil's questions, but Phil, public comments are not a Q&A. We would love to answer your questions, possibly reach out with an email, phone number. I did respond to Mike Price last month because he was asking some questions that kind of directly related to my wheelhouse, tax rates, local option levies and things like that. So sorry, I don't remember what your questions were, but if you want to reach
It
out.
had to do with
questions-
finance.
Finances.
So my insurance company says they're getting charged. Nobody can tell me whether or not they're receiving monies from my insurance company for my membership. So, I mean, I leave all my information on the forms, but yet I haven't heard anything back. And I would think that if people have valid
Yeah.
questions,
Well, we can
Give
put
us
it in
a-
the finance
yeah,
section
give us a
after
second.
this.
I was just,
because I thought we addressed that at one of our meetings.
we did at the end of the meeting, but you may have already been gone by then. So I'll make sure and follow up with you because I'll follow up with you on that.
so you can go back into the minutes and see what my questions were, and then I'd appreciate response back.
I will follow up with you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Debbie Stinson.
Can you hear me?
We can hear
Okay.
you. Perfect.
All right. I work retail and I have a lot of people who have come to me through the summer to ask me about what's going on at the pool. And I thought it would just be good information to pass that on to you. Every week I've had multiple customers come in and say, Debbie, when's the pool going to open? I don't know. They go, why is it closed? I'm like, I've gone to every meeting and I still can't tell you why it's closed. I don't know. So I just wanted you guys to know that people who live in our community, and these are people who have not attended any meetings, have come in and asked me those questions. I've had tourists who have come in and said, where can I buy a swimming suit? And I would say to them, well, typically I would tell you to go to the pool, but I'm sorry, our pool is closed because we do have a swimsuit line up there. I had customers want a better pair of goggles than my $1, $2 goggles. And they said, where can I find a better pair of goggles? I said, well, typically I would send you to the pool, but I'm sorry, our pool is closed. So I just wanted you guys to know that our community is missing our pool, and so are our tourists. And then just a couple days today, I had another man come in today. He said, Debbie, when's the pool going to open? I was going every morning. I'm not feeling very good anymore. I need to get back to the pool. And I said, I'm sorry, I don't know. Come to the meeting tonight. I see he didn't make it, but he was going to try. A couple days ago, my mom's neighbor yelled at me across the way because we'd seen each other at the pool in the mornings. She said, Debbie, when's the pool going to open? I said, I don't know. And I don't know what's going on. And I've been somebody who's been coming and listening. And the confusion from the man this morning was, why now, if the swim team is able to practice, how come the community has to wait until September, October, when the swim team is practicing to come? How come the community couldn't be part of coming during that time when the swim team is open during this time? So that's my question. So that's what has been community people who have valid questions have been asking a retail clerk. So anyway, thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you. And it's September 28th is our opening of the pool. You can pass that on. September 28th.
Are those dates are up on the website?
They are on the
Yeah.
website. As is the
I think we got them up.
schedule.
If they're not up yet, they'll be up by the end of the week.
Okay, I think they are.
Okay, let's see. Here. Jane Ellen Innes. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm also your library director. And I've been listening to some of your videos. And I just wanted to take a minute to remind you and the public that this is a meeting in the public and not with the public. And you were right, Jean, there's not a Q&A here. You're not required to respond to anybody who addresses you here. And you are also not required to have public comments. You set your own rules about that. And I wanted to thank you for allowing people the public comments, but this is something that you can determine how many minutes you want people to speak, the entire length of your public comments, and any guidelines that you have for that. I think a lot of people aren't aware of that. I have whipped the Fair Board into shape. And I just think it's very important that people understand that you are meeting in the public, but you are not meeting with the public. Just wanted to remind everybody of that.
Thank you, Jane. Christy Abbey.
The mics aren't working for the. Can you slide those forward, Courtney, towards the chairs?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Let's see if somebody on Zoom can hear you.
My name is Christy Abbey. I don't know if you want me to start or if we're doing a sound check. So tell me if you want me to start or do a sound check.
Is there somebody you can correspond with on Zoom to see if they can hear that? Would you do a sound check, Chrissy?
Sound check. Anybody here? Can you hear on
It's
Zoom?
showing volume.
Yeah.
Okay.
IT's back there saying yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, my name is Christy Abbey. I'm from Metolius, and I just wanted to say as much information as can be online. I think there will be less requests for public information, and so I appreciate the packets going up, the meeting materials, and all of that sort of thing. And also, kind of in response to what Jane had said, yes, these are meetings in the public. We do need to, both the board and the public, understand our roles and everything. But I really feel like doing some question and answer would be very, very good right now because people have a lot of questions. And so I think it would be good to still have some opportunities and some transparency, and otherwise you got a lot of upset people. And so anyway, I think I didn't go over a couple minutes that I could even think of, did I? So. Okay, I was going to say, how did I do that? But anyway, those are just the thoughts that I have. I know because I have been on boards and I have been on, I'm on the Metolius City Council right now, that it is hard learning all of the different avenues, and it is hard to learn how to work as a board. And also when you get people upset on both sides, things don't always go great. So anyway, anything to do to open the books up, open up the things that don't have to be secret, and there will be less questions. And yes, when you are on a public thing, there could be a lot of attacks that come against you, what you might feel like is an attack. But I really feel like for the good of the community, we want to all work together, get the pool open. I mean, I heard it was going to be September, but September 28th is almost October. So I'm still a little frustrated that it's taken that long, but I know y'all are working hard. And anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Hope to see you on the 28th, Chrissy. Oh, there we go. Okay. Susan Barker. Okay, I'm sorry. I went to Madras High School. So it's okay. It's okay.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
There we go. A little closer.
I'm
Yes,
a little
ma'am.
shy.
Okay.
Okay, so my name is Susan Barker, and I didn't realize this was totally not a question and answer. And I am new to the area, so indulge me just a little bit if you don't mind. And my question mostly involves the mold. The question was, how was it detected? Who detected it? What steps were taken regarding this? Was there actual certified license remediation that took place with this? Mold is airborne. And I noticed in some of the pictures that some of the sheetrock had been ripped off to show the mold. Who did that? It's airborne. Only people that have protective gear and with black mold should have been tending to this and taking care of this. And I don't know if that really happened or not. Seemed to be open and a lot of people were in that area. And you kind of could have become a huge health issue community-wise to have had it open, if in fact that was the black mold that in fact you guys say it was. I don't know. And so it's kind of I'm just trying to figure out how this all took place. And you say it's all taken care of. Was a remediation company called? It all should have been sealed off because it is airborne, as medical people know and others. So I just wanted to bring it up. I think it was something that it seems like it wasn't addressed in the way that it should have been addressed in regards to community safety, because it can be catastrophic and it can affect organs really bad. Any amount of it can be effective on people. So I was just curious, and I guess you'll send me an email in regards to all this, is my understanding. Is that right?
Mr. Chairman.
I do not have your email, Susan.
Didn't I write
So,
it down?
No, ma'am. I do not.
Really?
Is there a phone number on there?
I don't even have a phone number.
Yes,
Phone number's not on there?
do we want to take a minute to touch on that? Yeah, during the meeting, okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I would appreciate a response on that.
Sam Robinson.
Board members. I think the name for the record is already stated. It's Sam Robinson. I've been thinking about what I wanted to share. What I wanted to share the most was how grateful I am to be part of the Madras Aquatic Center Recreation District. Not just as a staff, but as a community member, and how just grateful I am to be to grow to be where I am today. I'm grateful for the people in my life. And I know there are people who have opposition, and that opposition cannot be avoided. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I believe that light can shine even brighter. And looking towards the positivity and looking towards the unknown with a brighter future, I just hope for the Madras Aquatic Center Recreation District to look at the positive, not just the negative. The quote saying, "It is better to focus on the solution rather than the problem," because the problems cannot be dealt with without coming up with the solutions. Because if we don't focus on the solutions, we're just focusing on the problems. And I just want the members of not just the board, but the members of the community to hear that we need to look towards the solutions, positive solutions, a better direction for the Madras Aquatic Center Recreation District. And I believe we can look towards that direction. And that's all I have to say. And thank you for hearing me out. And God bless America. God bless the board. And I pray that the solution will come. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Yes. Okay. Carrie Graham.
I would like to yield my time to Susan Kavari, who is online. Wyla.
Susan, well, I don't think there's an exclusion for wielding. Susan does get 6 minutes
Yes.
because she has
Yes, and I would like to give
Disability.
her my time as well.
I don't think it works that way.
no.
Where? Why?
Well, as Jane Ellen just pointed out, I mean, our public comment is 3 minutes, and then Susan Murray asked for an additional 3 for ADA accommodation, and so we're removing that requirement, but you can't give up your 10 minutes in the process.
I've done that in other board meetings. Where is that in your policy?
This is not a Q&A, Carrie. Tell us what you have to say.
Okay,
You got
Irby,
3
I'd like to
minutes.
know where that is in your policy, and I would appreciate an email. I'm asking Irby. Thank you. I wasn't going to speak because I don't really have anything new to share. You all know how I feel. I think closing the pool over the summer when you could have been bringing money in is completely ridiculous. You are now going to open the end of September when kids are back in school. They're playing fall sports who are being serviced by a parent group who is doing this for free. Meanwhile, you continue to pay 6 figures to someone to write policy. We've had a conversation, Frank, about 6 figures on Facebook. You actually asked one of our members to send you the wage scale. What's the lowest? You should know that.
No, I don't have that.
But you're asking us to provide you with that? Yeah, you should know that. 6 figures for doing, I'm sorry, closing rec, closing the pool. I don't know what she claims to be doing.
Okay, let me stop you real quick, Carrie. I understand constructive feedback, but honestly, it sounds
This is
like-
my 3 minutes.
But it sounds like you're attacking an individual. We are not going to have that here. If you have some concerns, you have some feedback concerning the pool, but we are not attacking.
This district cannot afford a 6-digit employee. You need an aquatics manager, you need a recreation manager, and you need an admin person. You do not need to pay anybody 6 figures ever. This district cannot afford it. You have shifted all of your revenue towards paying people versus serving the public. I have looked at so many charts of numbers that these ladies have dug up, and I'm here to tell you, you should look at them yourself because they do not make sense. Have any of you looked at anything we've showed you?
Absolutely.
You have,
I am.
and they make sense to you.
Thank you, Carrie. Cora.
You're fine as a baby.
Yes.
It was gonna be a noisy one tonight. So for the record, I'm Cora Hollyman. At the last meeting, I was encouraged by the discussion about leaving the records up on the website. I know we acknowledged that they haven't been restored, but records did come down from the last meeting. I just wanted to point that out. My concern is that we're now discussing policy that will restrict public record access without acknowledging why there are more requests. This is on the heels of public records requests resulting in ethics complaints against the very staff who's removed the records. And after 2 years of minutes were intentionally removed by staff from the website and only restored when the public who was actively using those minutes reached out to the board. Has there ever been a time in the district history that record requests have come in at this volume? Maybe that's because the board continues to avoid addressing public concerns. You said these issues are on hold pending OGEX review, an independent investigation, but let's not forget that complaint was filed by community members, not the board. The record requests you're receiving are a part of that effort. The board apparently expects the community to do the investigating and reporting of our own concerns. And then you're saying that that's your job is done. All the while, staff is considering policy to block access to that information. Doesn't that undermine the very investigative process that you claim to be waiting on? What about your own policies in handling community concerns? What about the parts of the letter that do not fall under the ethics law? They're just forgotten. What this really shows is that the board is either unwilling or unable to provide oversight of staff, and that has permanently damaged public confidence in this district. That's bad news for a board that is relying on voter support to increase tax funding. So I have to ask, what is the plan to regain public favor with these voters? Because from the outside, the only plan being communicated is to pay staff until contracts expire and hope that there's something left of the district when that time is over. For years, this board has complained about lack of community support, and now dozens of community members are stepping up. We're here putting in time and unearthing serious issues, and all we're being met with is avoidance and legal opposition. You can just fix the issues in your minutes. You don't have to take it to your lawyer. We're bringing it to you because you're avoiding all of the issues that we've raised. I want to know if each of you had 3 minutes to speak tonight in public comment. Would you have something to say about what you have each individually done between the last meeting and now? Because I have a lot to say, more than I can fit in 3 minutes. It's just very frustrating. And I think the community is doing our part. We do want to work together. I don't know how you think that we're going to be allowed to volunteer when a board member can't even volunteer, but it's time for you, the board, to join the community.
Thank you, Cora. Miss Julie Mitchell.
I didn't realize, my name is Julie Mitchell. I didn't realize this wasn't like a Q&A, so I'll have to email you guys my questions. But what is the plan moving forward to bring in revenue and to open the pool besides grants? Is there a plan to be open morning, say 6 to 10 for older generation and a mom and me swim for stay-at-home moms? Close down the pool till 3:30 or 4, open up for working families and for, sorry, I get nervous. I'm a teacher.
It's okay. It's okay. Use your baseball voice.
I know.
Yell at me like I'm a coach. You'll be fine.
Open up for the working families and for school kids to swim can be till 7 or 8. The pool can't be open from 8 to 5. That is when working families can't go. Evening weekends are more desirable. Is there data to show what are the busy hours and the most profitable times? This summer, there was no swimming lessons. Summers when families can't take their children and kids are playing in the water in the summer. For public records and budget items, would that be a job for the secretary and treasurer? Same with posting the agenda meeting minutes, that would fall under the secretary and not responsible of Courtney, because it sounds like Courtney has a lot of responsibilities. And I don't know if the treasurer secretary can post the meeting minutes up on the website, just kind of help with the budget, some of the budget items. I don't know if the treasurer handles that, where that could alleviate some of Courtney's responsibility. It sounds like Courtney's wearing a lot of hats and doesn't have time to get everything done. It sounds like you can't bring in volunteers. And I know it's not ideal, but can you remove some of those hats, reduce her pay, and hire another person to do those hats? If she's got too much on her plate, I don't know. And in any other organization that I've been a part of, they are separate. So secretary and budget stuff has been separate than the president and vice president. So the board, and I'm on many different boards, and I'm the treasurer in Jefferson County Little League, the president will contact me, hey, Julie, we need a budget report. I would provide that for her. So I just feel like Courtney has a lot of hats. How are we gonna alleviate some of that? And then why was the pool open for a swim team and not the public? Where did the funding come from? Was it paid for by the swim team for the staff to be there? Because Courtney showed that she has to have at least 4 people, right, on her little pyramid model. And so I was just curious, where does the funding come to pay for that? Because we really need to open our pool and bring in revenue. And has anybody done a breakdown of that? Like, how many swimmers do we need every day to afford to pay for our lifeguards and the 10 people that she showed tonight? That's all I have. So I guess I'll email you guys my questions and hopefully get a response.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. And if I can talk, I think we have answered the question on why the pool was closed, right, for the summer. I mean, it cost us, what was it, 180 or 280 to run it for the summer? Courtney, do you remember?
It's a cash flow issue.
Right. But I mean, what is the pool cost to run for the summer? I thought, was it 180 or 280?
I think it was 200. Well, with fully staffed and everything, it was about 285 or something like that.
About 285 to run it for that summer program. And the best revenue we have ever done, looking at all of them, has been 27,000, if I remember correctly.
Like that, yeah.
Something like that. So you bring in 27,000 and the pool costs 280,000. It don't math.
So, and
And we get a tax anticipation loan from Jefferson County to help cash flow us from July to November when taxes are paid. And we had to use and usually that floats us and can get us through until the fall. But this year, because of a tax correction that happened last year, we had to use money from that to pay off our final bond payment. And so our cash flow, we're even closed, almost not at a good cash flow place. So it really was cash flow that made us close this summer more so than the availability of revenues, if that makes sense.
All right.
And just real quick, we saw back in February and March, and you would see it in our board minute meetings, we were going to end up June 30th, about $70,000 in the red, starting July 1. And we put it out there then that we worked 2 budgets. If it passes, if it fails, we worked 2 schedules. If it passes, if it fails, it was out there in February and March. We saw it coming. Yeah.
So, and real quick, Carrie, I will look into that about yielding your time, but I think the maximum amount of minutes you can yield to somebody is 6, but I will definitely look. Okay. Okay. All right, Sean Layton.
Good evening. I kind of got roped into this. I wasn't planning on this tonight. I just wanted to start out and say, it's awesome and I'm grateful. And I think a lot of us here in Jefferson County are grateful for all the service that you provide, for the county. And I think as I was thinking about it and as I was kind of looking at the schedule and thinking about different things, at the beginning of the meeting, we all pledged allegiance to the flag and one nation under God. And I think sometimes if we simplify things and kind of go back to our roots and go back to the very founding principles, even those first 10 commandments, several thousand years ago, thou shalt work 6 days a week, and the 7th day on the Sabbath, you shouldn't work at all. And so I think the thing that stuck out to me most is the promises that come when we keep commandments of our Creator. And so I think if we were to close and not do business on Sunday, something that a lot of corporate businesses and things do these days, and the world keeps on going, but I think it would help our community. And I think a lot of our community would appreciate it if we put God first in this community. And, that being said, I think a lot of things that I've heard being discussed a little bit earlier too, it is focused around money, not having enough money to do things. And I think a lot of people have some very strong opinions on kind of both sides of things. And I think people are working really hard. I don't want to disregard that at all. But I do think we can be wise about that. If staff cuts need to be made, they should be made across the board. It's been almost 20 years since the voters of Jefferson County voted for this to be created. We want a pool in the summer to go swimming in. And if it's not open, I think certain changes, I think sometimes we make things complicated. But my advice would just be, let's simplify things and do the things that we know are right, and everything will work out in the end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes. Sheila Fabian for Nikki Carson.
I'm off the beat, so I'm reading it.
Okay.
So I'm reading this for Nikki Carson. Good evening, and thank you for taking the time to hear my comment tonight. I'm speaking as a deeply disappointed resident and taxpayer. Our community pool has been closed for nearly the entire summer, a time when families, children, and adults rely on it for swimming, exercise, and recreation. As a result, many of us have had to drive to Crook County, Deschutes County, Warm Springs, or even pay for hotel stays just to access basic amenities like swimming or soaking in a hot tub.
Meanwhile, the MHS and Madras swim teams have continued to practice, and yet we're told the pool closure is due to a lack of funding. This doesn't make sense. If the pool is closed due to budget constraints, how are teams still accessing it? At the last board meeting on August 8th, the newly elected chair, who notably accepted the role reluctantly, opened the meeting by publicly declaring support for the executive director. My immediate reaction was, why? Here's what I know. The pool remains closed and neglected. The executive director has held her position for 5 years and continues to receive her full salary. The executive director serves on the school board, and both her children, her child and board member Lewis have children on the swim team, which raises concerns about potential conflicts of interest, especially since swim team schedules appear to take precedence. Maintenance issues continue to pile up. Mold, a broken water heater, unapproved purchases, and expired quotes. Grant money that was never awarded being included in the budgets, and when they are inquired about, the executive director's response is simply, they never called back. That's not accountability. Funds were received for a heating and cooling shelter, but the facility remained closed to firefighters until multiple complaints were made. Mismanagement or misallocation of funds, with money being spent on bilingual signage, 11,000 in new furniture and fireproof file cabinets that sit unused while documents are stacked in the meeting room. For a pool that is severe financial distress, this spending decisions raise serious concerns. This list could go on, but more importantly, I leave these meetings with more questions than answers. Transparency and leadership are sorely lacking. I sincerely hope tonight includes an executive director's report and that communication is clear, professional, and not filtered through side notes or behind the scenes messaging. At this point, our pool and our community are not thriving. I struggle to understand how anyone can continue to support this executive director. Thank you. And can I just say for my 3 minutes, if you want to start the timer. I'm Sheila Fabian, but after I've listened to some other people speak and I've heard a few other things that were said this evening, I just want to say I'm still just concerned. And like others have said, it's hard to have any trust when things are skipped over and questions aren't answered. And to me, I saw the new schedule and I was so excited to see the pool's going to open. And then I see the hours and it's only like 2 hours. And I realize there's a huge staffing issue, which everybody keeps bringing up, but that's just very disappointing for like I think it was Julie that mentioned for families that want to go, or the family time, because I don't believe that 2 hours during dinner time is sufficient. But thank you very much.
Thank you. Dennis Fisher.
My name's Dennis Fisher. I am an employee of the MAC as well. I've been relieved of my duties over the last year due to medical issues. I hear a lot of valid points that people are saying from here. I think that some of the things and some of the ways that they're conveyed could be done in a much more diplomatic manner. But I can tell you about the lady that sits up there that is under fire. I'm an alcoholic. That lady took a risk on me. I answered a message on a Facebook thing, I think is what it was, when I went in for my interview. I was completely transparent with her and the other man and the other lady that was in there. Told them my background, where I'd come from. This lady gave me a chance. Through this lady's chance, it gave me a new home. And with that home, I'm able to start spreading that word of what people that gave me a chance, put the hope into me. Now I get to give it back to them, but I get to do it with personal experience. The people that are in this community, there's some really good ones. She's one of them. Whether people think she's overpaid, underpaid, it doesn't matter to me. My personal story with her, it's very deep. What I do with the kids there at that MAC, I see kids that come in with addiction issues, with peer pressure issues. I see a lady that hires them. Those kids gravitate to me because I'm transparent with them as well. I see a lot of those kids now going to school. past high school, ones that weren't gonna. I see some that have a baby before they should. I also see them starting to be a good mom at 18 years old. That pool gave them a chance. It gave them a different direction. I know my home life wasn't good, and I took part of that home life with me into my adulthood, and I had to rethink things through. I wear a hat that says USS Nimitz on it. I know what courage, commitment, transparency, honor, and all that stuff means. I lost some of that through my own addiction. Courtney and other people gave me that chance to come back. It's not always about the face value of what you see in a person. It's getting to know that person and what she does for this community that nobody else knows about. It's easy to make accusations, to read a paper that anybody can write a graph on. I'm real leery about graphs. I got to know who wrote it and the credibility. It's easy to make judgments of things like that. I know
Thank
that
you.
without the pool, I wouldn't have.
Thank
the
you,
stuff
Dennis.
that I've got. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Okay. Let the record show.
Yeah.
Let the record show that Frank Maynard is stepping out at 8:30 p.m. And Dennis, thank you for your service too. Okay, Miss Trudy Haugen. Of course. Of course.
So what I'm gonna do tonight is stretch your mind a little bit. Because sometimes I think we forget to stretch our mind. Thank you. My name is Trudy Haugen, for the record. So, I don't know. I'm a numbers geek. It's what I do. The only thing that stood out to me in your packet was this form. And so I've highlighted a few things and I'd like to go through it with you. So just from memory, 2019-20 is the last time we've had a functioning pool. I planned on printing the schedule so you could see that, but I'll tell you 5 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. 2025-26 is this year. So your message to the public is that you are closed due to cash flow. I would like you to look at 2019-20. Let's look at July. The revenue was $52,000 in July of 19. The personnel services was $52,000. You had the maintenance services. Your loss for July in 2019 was $10,000. How about if we look at July of 2025? Your wages were $18,234, or excuse me, your revenue. Your personnel was $38,000. Anyway, your loss for being completely closed was $69,000. So now I'm just gonna, you can go through each one of those. So you're telling the community you're closed because of cash flow. So let's get down to the bottom. The total revenue after taxes, after everything's done, is $297,420 in 2019 and $368,000 in 25-26. You're getting $120,000 more in tax revenue. Take a look at your revenue in 2019, 571. Take a look at your revenue in 25, 690. So you have $120,000 more. But you're only ending up with 70,000 more than in 2019. So now let's talk about the revenue in 2019. Daily admissions, anywhere from $70,000 to $90,000 in a broad spectrum on the budget sheet that I looked at. Memberships, 60 to 73,000, punch cards, 10 to 40,000, swimming lessons, Anyway, concessions, 13 to 15,000, birthday parties, 12 to 15,000. The minimum that you could have had was 183,000. So
Thank you, Trudy.
I just hope that you will review this, because the message that you're giving the public and this, memberships were how much back then? Admissions were how much back then? And so that's just, I really think that we need to twist our brain a little bit.
Thank you, Trudy.
There's no expenses on here. No expenses.
No grants.
Expenses are listed.
Unfettered
Trudy,
conversation.
thank you. Okay, I'd like the record to show that Frank Maynard is back at 8:34 p.m.
No more public.
And
Anybody
I don't
online?
think,
Susan Kovari requested to speak from Zoom.
okay,
So let me. Susan, I clicked on ask to unmute. This is my first time doing this. Did that work?
Do you hear me?
Yes.
yes.
Okay. For the record, my name is Susan Kavari. May 2021, the MAC was awarded an Oregon Community Foundation Summer Learning Grant in the amount of $118,500, funded by the Oregon Department of Education to help mitigate isolation caused by COVID-19 pandemic and to support student readiness for the 21-22 school year. Through a simple evaluation of the 21-22 Board of Directors meeting minutes, I found significant misuse of those funds that I'd like to bring to your attention. July 2021, item 13, slide refurbishment project. The board approved expenditures not to exceed $55,000 with Splashtacular to refurbish the slide using OCF grant funds with the goal of completing the work during the September maintenance closure. The motion passed 4-0. August 2021, Board of Director meeting minutes work session, item 1, financial report review. Vice Chair Foster Drago stated this was the best financial equity district we have seen since her tenure. Snead attributed to the OCF grant income of $118,500 in June and savings from COVID-19 related closures. Item 3, scoreboard and swim technology. Executive Director Snead discussed a partnership involving the MAC, the Madras Swim Team, 509J Athletics Director, Covenant Technology Solutions, and MAC staff who have been meeting to discuss replacing the scoreboard and swim technology and how the MAC will serve as the fiscal sponsor for the project. Madras Swim Team also received an $83,000 OCF Summer Learning Grant, with $50,000 budgeted toward the scoreboard. The MAC received their grant award on May 26th and the Madras Swim Team on June 9th of 2021. This raises questions. Does the scoreboard replacement fall under summer learning? Based on the amounts and timing, it's likely that both the MAC and the Madras Swim Team used OCF grant funds for this project. Additionally, who ultimately owns the scoreboard? Business meeting, item 8, Executive Director report. Snead commented, there are also 3 new lifeguard chairs, all thanks to the OCF grant. October 2021 work session. Update on capital improvements in progress. Snead reported, the third project, which was planned with the OCF grant, is replacing the ADA lift. The lift has been ordered, but again, due to supply chain issues, it's not scheduled for delivery for 90 days. So let's sum up this purchasing of capital purchases under the 21-21 OCF Summer Learning Grant. We did a slide reimbursement for refurbishment, Splashtacular, $55,000. Scoreboard sponsorship to be determined, but probably $50,000. 3 lifeguard chairs and an ADA pool lift. When you consider the labor required for installations, it's reasonable to assume that the entire $118,500 grant was consumed by capital improvements. This is not speculation. This is supported by the MAC's own meeting minutes and statements by Executive Director Snead. These expenditures clearly do not align with the intended purpose of the OCF grant, which was to support summer learning opportunities for students. While the MAC reported it had served 900 students with this grant and the Matter Swim team reported serving 40, the actual spending suggests otherwise. The collaboration between SNEED and the Matter Swim team in coordinating the use of their respective OCF funds raises significant concerns. At the very least, this warrants a closer review. This also is the second six-figure state-issued grant under Executive Director SNEED that shows evidence of misuse. The board needs to pay attention. Additionally, when I noticed that the 21-22 and 22-23 online board meetings were subtly removed on July 29th, I had to go back and forth with SNEED to have the minutes restored online. More importantly, I submitted a public records request on August 15th for OCF grant information that I was told to expect a response by August 29th. And then upon reviewing the meeting work session packet, I noticed Mac's public records request tracking report that indicated my records request would take 20 to 30 hours to fulfill, an unrealistic estimate for accessing grant-related information that I was able to find simply by reading the minutes online. To suggest that it would take that long is not only implausible, it feels like an attempt to block access. Frankly, I may as well say it's snowing pink flamingos outside. In closing, I want to remind the board that misuse of public grant funds, particularly those that originate from state or federal sources, can carry serious consequences under the False Claims Act. Submitting false statements or misrepresenting program outcomes, such as inflating the number of students served or mischaracterizing capital purchases as educational programming, may constitute fraud. Under the False Claims Act, individuals and entities, including executive leadership and boards that knowingly allow misuse, can be held personally and financially liable. This isn't just a policy issue, it's a matter of legal compliance, fiduciary duty, and public trust. This board has an obligation to investigate, report, and correct any misuse of taxpayer-funded grants. Failing to act not only risks further legal exposure, but undermines the community's faith in the MAC governance. On behalf of the district taxpayers, I urge you to take these findings seriously and pursue the appropriate course of action, because if you don't, we will as a community.
Thank you, Susan. Anybody else on Zoom? Okay. If there's nobody else that wants to speak, we are going to close the public comment section.
Can you have her come up to the,
Come on up, ma'am.
restate her name for the record?
Okay.
The gentleman that spoke at the very beginning. I
And
remember
can
him.
you restate your name for the
Oh,
record?
I'm
sorry, for the record, this is Susan Barger.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyway, I have a question about that because I was at the meeting when he spoke. And the question that he had was regarding the insurance. And he wanted to know if when his insurance was being paid, but the swimming pool was closed, were they still being billed? And he hadn't received any information, and I think it's information that maybe others would like to know about, other than just sending an email to him. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. If that's it, we're going to close our public comment section. And now we're going to move on to financial reports. Courtney?
Hey, board members, the financial reports are in the board packet. The first is the balance sheet as of July 31st, 2025. I wanted to just call to your attention that year over year, we are down in our cash. Our accounts receivable are up. That is because of the grant that we received from the MAC Trust. It was $11,300 something. Also noted for the credit cards that there were a number of payments that occurred that are not typical. So we did take funds that were donated to the MAC, particularly for tackle football. And upon the request of the folks that donated it, we used those funds to sponsor a Madras team through a tackle organization in Central Oregon. So that was about $1,071. $3,000 annual subscription to Instrumental, which is one of the grants portals that we belong to, that we have found quite a few grants on. The public meeting improvements costs, and then the fire safe file cabinet were all part of that. I will note, just in response to some stuff that came up during the public section, that everything that we have in the meeting room that has not yet been filed, none of those are permanent records. All of the permanent records are located in those file cabinets. They're just not quite organized yet. That's part of that process, but they are all in those fire safe file cabinets, which is why those were purchased for permanent files.
That's a requirement.
Yeah, that's something that we should have been doing all of this time. Payroll liabilities are down 43.5%. Accrued vacation is down 50% in terms of payroll liabilities. And then you can see that our equity so far for the first month is about negative $106,000 from a balance sheet perspective. When you look at the profit and loss, I've highlighted a few areas. The first is property taxes. We brought in quite a bit more this month than we anticipated. There are adjustments that happen for prior year permanent and local option levy taxes where they get adjusted back to the prior year, and those adjustments come through as part of our audit, so they are not reflected in this budget to actual report. Programs and services revenues are at 180% of budget, and that's because the Madras swim team paid for July and August in July, and so you see those revenues under room, facilities, and rentals. That $1,071 of tackle football underwriting shows here. Interest is much higher than what we budgeted, and we anticipate that will continue. The board, in our new financial management policy, if it's adopted, identifies that one-time revenue should only be used for one-time expenses. And it is our goal to keep any funds that come in through interest as part of our ending fund balance, so that it's not getting spent, it's getting saved. And then you can see that our total income to budget was about $3,000 more than anticipated. When you go down to personnel, we were at about 97.5% of budget. I'll remind the board that this is our adopted budget, and it has not been adjusted to the hours and the staffing that we have during the closure. So this $1,236 is what we actually spent for that tackle football sponsorship. So the $1,071 that we showed above was us taking that money out of savings and putting it into our profit and loss. And then this is where we spent it to provide support. So the district did pay about $100 and something, a little less than $100 toward that sponsorship. Continuing, you can see that subscription for Instrumental comes out of our administrative licenses, dues, and subscriptions. I mentioned earlier, legal services was at 500% of budget this month. I think our full fiscal year budget is $10,000 for that line item. And so we'll have to probably look at a budget adjustment at some point for that particular line, or savings elsewhere in the budget. And so when you go down to the planned expenses, we were at about 57% of budget. For the debt services fund, again, you see that property taxes came in much higher than anticipated. Again, those adjustments that happened for the budget through our audit will impact the final July revenues. Going down further, another way of looking at it more collapsed and through the full fiscal year. So you can see what we've spent to date for the month of July and then August through the 18th. We should be at about 8.3%, which is 1 out of 12 months. And so grants and donations have come in higher so far this year because we got the one grant. Personnel services is at about 11.5% of budget, and that'll flatten out, I think, once we do our budget adjustment. Overall, recreation services, which is the level that we adopt our budget, is at 8.2%. So we're right at that 8.1% baseline that we're hoping for. And debt services, we had our first payment that was due for the energy loan that we have, energy improvements loan. And so that's due July 1. And so that's why we're at 40% of budget already for that one. And then to go down to the cash flow analysis, one of the things that I would say about this, as you look at prior years, is the challenge we have is that our carry forward, which is how much money we bring forward year to year, has been inflated in prior years because of grants that we had that carried forward between, you know, maybe an award in May or June, and then they get spent in the next year. And so in the years during COVID and post-COVID, there was a lot of grant money available, and we were applying for it, and it masked this structural deficit in us ending a fiscal year in a positive way instead of in a negative way. And now that those COVID grants have dried up, and every year expenses continue to go up, as you know, inflation has been a thing since COVID. That is part of the challenge that we're dealing with in this fiscal year 25-26 cash flow. What I can tell you from my perspective that's really positive about this is down here at the bottom where we have our estimates through June. You can see that we budgeted to end the fiscal year with $30,336. And based on our best guess estimates, we think we're probably going to end the year around $45,000. So things can change. Hopefully nothing else breaks. Hopefully all of our assumptions around property tax revenues come in and we don't have another 2 or 3 tax adjustments like we did last year that really impacted our ability to provide services. Does anybody have any questions about the financial reports?
Nope. Pretty straightforward. So we're going to move on. Any questions? No, Frank? No questions? Becky?
No.
Okay. So let's move on to number 8. Consider approval of the consent agenda.
Board members, if I could, for the record, share with you that you have 2 revised minutes in your board packet. These revisions are based on recommendations from our attorney for best practices for minutes. We will be doing the minutes this way moving forward. I really appreciated the opportunity to learn a more effective way of providing that information. So moving forward, you will see that we call out each board member's vote in a little graph. Looked at what some other folks do, and so we're going to do that, and then we're going to do a better job identifying in the body of the minutes when people come and go, and I really appreciate the board helping me with that, saying into the record. But that's why you have the June 4th and June 18th minutes on there as revised.
So do we need to make a motion for that?
Before we do, though, I want to point out and recognize, Cora. Thank you. We did research those questions. Something else we found out in the July meeting, I had asked a question about the new system that we had purchased, if you guys remember, and there was some feedback from the community. The presumption with the community was that the executive director had bought this equipment without any direction from the board. Possibly they answered their own questions with researching those minutes because we had discussed it. I, as the treasurer, going over the financials, I didn't recognize that vendor name. And so I had asked the question in the meeting, what was that expense for? When I was out of town and trying to dial into Zoom, it was horrible. I couldn't hear. I really felt I couldn't participate in the meeting. So with that, ORS 192.650, recording or written minutes required. The governing body of a public body shall provide for the sound, video, or digital recording or the taking of written minutes of all its meetings. I feel that we're exceeding those statutes by having this new updated recording system as well as documenting with the written minutes. Yeah. It goes
I
on.
also talked to Courtney about, like in the Zoom, you can do, there's an AI feature that will create a document and make notes. And so I suggested we start using AI for that, so that she doesn't have to take it.
Absolutely, because the length of the minutes of this last meeting, that's overwhelming. They need to be more condensed. You know, I appreciate staff's time taking to do the minutes that they did, but according to the statute, it's not necessary. It goes on in detail to describe it, yeah, to the best of our ability, give them.
I did click the AI button for summary, so we'll see what comes out of this Zoom meeting.
Yeah,
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I learned that recently at a conference.
Yeah.
Is that
Right
like
on.
Chat GPT or something like that?
Well, yeah, but in these, like I do Teams meetings at work and it'll, you can ask it to listen and then it consolidates a written report. All of it.
Yeah,
So we have to-
absolutely.
Yeah.
We're gonna try it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need that. We had so much feedback from the community about the Zooms and stuff. We needed a better system.
The other microphones just don't pick anyone up.
Yeah.
So if you're online, and part of the feedback wasn't just from Gene, it was from all the community members that have been logging in more to our meetings. that we can hear. So there was feedback from a lot of the community asking us to upgrade.
Well, it wasn't
that
3,200.
Yes.
I mean, we don't have to go into it, but
Well, what I-
it wasn't that much.
Let me address, so we bought the owl, the sound bar, the TV stand. We found we didn't need the sound bar or the TV stand, so we returned it, and got $2,000 back. So now we just have the owl.
Yeah.
It's $1,200.
And he hoots well.
Yes.
Yeah.
As you remember, I mean, I was right there and I'd have a tough time seeing that screen from the little, honestly, little crappy projector
Yeah.
that we had. This system is so much better.
Yes.
And I thought people would like that because I do, absolutely do. I can read it. It's clear. I can see it. I can hear it. We don't have to hold microphones up to our mouth anymore. So,
Yes, this is very nice. The commission to loan us this one.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is pretty nice. Okay, we'll move on. So-
Consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Aye. Any against? No, I mean, I don't know, do I have to say that? No, okay.
No, they just say hearing no votes,
Okay,
and then I assume someone will correct me. if I'm wrong. Say that.
thank you. Okay, so number 9, consider approval of resolution number 2026-03, approving a budget adjustment for the fiscal year 2025-26 budget period beginning July 1st, 2025.
I'm not leaving. I'm just gonna go check that palm because it looks like the air is not blowing.
It's not, I'm done.
Went too far.
Oh, all the bodies. Yeah,
Okay. So board members, you have a cover memo in your board packet. The proposed budget adjustment to reflect the approved hours of operation for September 28th through February 21st. The cover memo just goes over the hours that were approved and the programs that are being offered during those hours. And then the proposed budget adjustment includes those assumptions that will be operating 27 to 28 hours a week. The current adopted budget assumed 15 hours of operation per week. This adjustment includes kind of the assumption that people are going to use the facility during these times, and that our open swims are going to be as full as possible on Saturdays and Sundays, and that we're fully staffed for all of those activities. So that's what this budget assumes. So you can see that we're assuming an increase of our charges for services of $75,000, and a commensurate expenditures under recreation services of $75,000. That $75,000 is split up between personnel and capital expenses. So it's adding additional $15,000 to capital. So we have budget authority for the flushing the heat exchangers, and then increases our budget authority in staffing expenses. Let's see. So 60,000 of that 75,000 is to restore full-time staff to 30 to 40 hours per week effective September 1st. Most of our part-time staff are taking the month of September off. And so our full-time staff will need to be there 40 hours a week to get all of our September stuff completed. And then restoring our part-time staff to 25 to 29 hours per week effective September 28th, which is when we reopen for the open swim. And then increasing our part-time seasonal lifeguard salaries budget to reflect seasonals that we're calling back to help us with that. So that is the budget resolution before you. If our assumptions around revenues for the months of September 28th until February 21st, and really we're looking at September to December. If they don't materialize, then staff will be bringing to the board considerations for hours for February 22nd through June 30th that can either fit within our budget or we may have to do some adjustments. Happy to answer any questions that you have about the proposed resolution.
And the budgets or the hours could go up, could go down.
Yeah.
Depending on.
Yeah, I mean, if we see revenues come in more than what we anticipate and we have that cash flow, because the goal too is to make sure that we can be open next summer.
Right.
So we're going to be looking at a combination of what can we do in the spring to facilitate being open in the summer. So we may have to cut back in the spring to be open in the summer, or we may be able to increase. It just depends on how the revenues and expenses come out.
So we need to make a motion to approve the resolution number 2026-03. Okay. We have a second.
Motion to approve resolution 2026-03.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So there's no nays. So okay, no nays. Okay. Number 10, consider approval of policy number 2026-01, financial management policies.
That was what was in our packet, right?
Yes, I didn't get any requests for changes from anyone. So this is the list of policies that were in your work session last month and this month.
I'm prepared to make that motion. I had gone over this with Courtney prior to last month's session, and we had made some verbiage changes here and there. And so I'll make the motion that we approve policy number 2026-01, financial management policy.
Second, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So I guess we're all in favor, no nays, Courtney. So, okay. Number 11, executive director report. See work session 4.c for updates.
Given our 200+ page board packet, I did not have time to do a written report. I will take the opportunity to address the question again about the insurance being charged. We did bill insurance for the first 2 weeks of June after the 1st of July, because that's how their billing cycle works.
Now, this is for people.
For people that checked in for their insurance.
Right.
Yep, so we billed insurance.
Because the pool is closed.
Yep, and then we did not bill for the last 2 weeks of June, July, or August, because we bill based on people checking in on their card, and no one is checked in on their card. You're welcome.
Is that good answer for you? Okay.
Did Phil leave his contact information?
And I'll call Phil tomorrow.
Yes, right
Yeah.
here.
I'll call him tomorrow.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, I think the staff has been busy since we have the approved hours and schedule. Like I said earlier, building out, updating the website, building out ActiveNet with all those activities, and then getting ready to start marketing everything. And I expect us to start hitting the ground with that end of this week, beginning of next week.
So number 12, board member reports and highlights.
I'll start because I came prepared this month. This is the section I always struggle with because you guys have kids and swimming and all that stuff, but it's now board member reports and highlights. So fellow MACRD board members and visiting public. This past month, I had the opportunity to have a lengthy civil conversation with a fellow community member over shared concerns facing our MACRD. He has attended many MACRD meetings in recent years and understands the challenges this district faces. He had questions that I answered to the best of my ability. Some documentation has been provided. He may have voted no in the recent election, but was able to share his opinions and ideas to move forward in a polite and positive manner. I truly enjoyed our conversation. To the community member that discovered a final inspection was not done on the HVAC system, thank you. If you heard it in the meeting, it was immediately addressed and resolved. We are never too old to learn something new. I now know that when a complaint is made to the Oregon Government Ethics Commission, a preliminary review is opened. The review phase can take up to 60 days. A staff report is then presented to the commission. If sufficient cause exists, OGEC will conduct an investigation. If not, the claim is dismissed. Several months may pass before a claim is resolved. Government does not move quickly. It is sad and concerning that the only community member to run for a board vacancy in May of 2025 election has tendered a resignation less than 30 days of being sworn into said position. The reason being words and actions of fellow community members. Verbal and written attacks on a volunteer board member that had not even been given the chance to serve. Truly saddens me. I applaud the community member who has volunteered her time and stepped up to organize some of the land-based programs the MACRD has had to let go. She was the one and only community member that attended a ballot measure question and answer session hosted and paid for by a fellow MACRD board member. Many communities in Oregon have volunteer organizations like the one she is leading to provide sports for youth and adults alike. She is an example to the rest of the community to follow, make a positive difference. We all would like to see this facility properly funded and open year-round to its full capacity. Thank you.
So,
Oh, come on, board member highlights. Tell us what you've been doing.
well, I just have a quick statement and then I'll go to my highlight, which I thought was pretty good. Okay, so with that said, since we're gonna have an opening, right? So waves of change. Cora? You have any interest? Vanessa, any interest
Don't put anybody on the spot at this time.
going to the board?
I'll be on the board. I would be fine with that, but I will not be happy to see money go to lawyers that we just talk to that.
That's why we can talk about it. So, I mean, there's an opening. So if there's any interest,
I also.
can we do that? Or
We have
no?
to open the position and post it.
Right, right. Yeah.
There were also several interested people in Warm Springs when I was campaigning down there. There were a lot of
Okay.
people and they really appreciated previously having voices up on the board. So there's other people indicating, I know
So let's, I
So,
mean, we can get applicants. Okay.
so in September, we'll have a item on the agenda for the board to look at a timeline and process and approve that. And then we will open application. We'll go through that
Okay.
timeline and process.
Perfect.
Yep.
So there we go.
And everyone is
Okay.
welcome to apply.
Okay, that's what I want to say. Everybody can apply. So one highlight for us. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that being a new person living in this community and somebody who loves the pool and still loves the pool and will continue to support the board and the pool. It's been very, I have to say, very disturbing, the amount of anger and, I've been a teacher. I taught all my life. So I mean, I'm used to verbal abuse, but it's just a little bit too much when it comes from adults. And I'm sorry, most of you have been fine, but it's just not how I want to live out my retirement years. And I hope to be able to stay in this community and support everybody. It's where we chose to live.
Anything else? Okay, my highlight is for the past probably month, my wife and I have been working on a very large cabana, super large cabana in the backyard. Okay, put a concrete pad down, all that good stuff. We kind of had a project manager come and help us. But the beauty part is we finished up today, this weekend, and we did not kill each other. And we kind of got along. I mean, there's little loud voices here and there, but you know, if you ever built anything or worked on a project with a spouse, you know what I'm talking about, right? So, yes. So, yeah, it's done.
Congratulations.
Lights, yeah, pretty happy. I don't want any more projects for the summer. I'm done. Told her no more. So, okay.
I have.
Oh, that's a nice one.
I do have one.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a low light and a highlight, but just to piggyback off of Becky, but I have a child who I told Courtney was very devastated to see the newspaper and the news, and he is very upset about not only the pool closing, but he's a huge football player and plays all the rec activities. And I usually coach him, so we're both very upset about that. And he was crying one night and so upset that his football career is already over. And now he found the new league and is excited. But for the record, he did not want to join the swim team. I forced him to join the swim team to learn to swim better because I was a swim instructor and lifeguard growing up, and I swim for exercise, like many of my patients, because I have bad knees and can't run or do anything else. So I made him do swim team. He hates it because it's too cold in the pool for him. But he made a lot of friends and he ended up getting very fast at swimming. And when we went on the trip, he was able to swim faster than I can swim because of being on swim team. So we were able to enter him into that, but he never done it before. Didn't really want to do it this summer, but because it was the only option, that is how he ended up on swim team. So I just wanted to share that because he went out of his comfort zone. He only likes sports with balls.
There you go. Good. Okay. And good congratulations to the Jefferson County Roots, right?
Yeah.
Is that the name of it? Yeah, because they're doing the football and
Yes.
and what, summer soccer, flag football.
Soccer, flag football.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's very awesome. So, all right. Anything else? Then we will move on. Number 13, reminders and upcoming meetings. Do I speak on this or do you, Courtney?
You can.
Okay,
Either way.
September 22nd, 2025, board work session, SDAO board training and business meeting.
So for September, unless there's something we really need to talk about in the work session, we're going to use that time for an SDAO consultant to come over and do a training with the board.
Okay.
Is the plan.
Okay.
What was the date again?
September 22nd.
That's the next regular board meeting. and I will be zooming in.
Okay, and we're not gonna do a board meeting, we're gonna do a training session.
We do
Right.
works, it'll be the
Do a
work
work-
session.
Okay,
Will be replaced with training.
How long will that training be? Like, do we need to start earlier than normal?
I can check in with SDAO.
Because sometimes when we've had those trainings, we start at like 5 if it's gonna be 2 hours.
Okay.
and Done the meeting after. in the past.
I can find out and then I'll check in with you if we need to do it earlier.
all right, and if that's it, I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 9:14 PM.
Wow, that was a marathon.
Yeah, I don't have to read this, the pursuant, we're just adjourned?
No.
Okay. Thank you.